All right, this is a little bit different from me. So my name is Jacob Gettins. You guys, if you're watching this, you may know me. I'm the host of the Outer Zone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. And this is a little bit different than what I normally do. So I've got Marcel on. Marcel, can you explain who you are, what you do, maybe a little bit why we're here?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Marcel Uhlig, and I am the co-founder and owner of the Iron Drift King competition in Germany.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and to provide a little bit of background, if you guys are watching this, you may have seen some of the content and posts and stuff going out about Iron Drift King, about all the big updates. And the reason we're doing this is to clear the air, explain everything that's going on, and give you guys as much detail as possible right now at this time about what's changing and what's going on. I've had a little bit of background information, not a ton. It sounds pretty cool what's going to change, but I don't have all the details, so I get to learn this along the way. Yeah, and for anybody listening or watching at home, quick background and like disclaimer. So I actually did the English announcing at Iron Drift King this year in 2023. Guys invited me out. It was an awesome time. I got to see what the event was like. It was incredible. I mean, it's a really unique venue. The battle on track was nuts, and it's just a really cool festival to be a part of. So yeah, it's wild, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are doing going into 2024.
Yeah, so as you said, Ferropolis and the Iron Drift King is a very special venue. It's a very special place, and a unique event that was always designed to give people a good time. You know, like essentially we designed the whole structure of Iron Drift King around the festival. That was always the idea. So you can be there 3 days in a row. You can just have a good time on that island. You can go swimming. You can hang out with the drivers. You can go camping. You know, there's music going on. Of course, there's car shows and stuff. So you definitely have enough time to do what you want to do during the days. And to make that extra special, the race is actually in the night. You know, so it's from 9 p.m. to like 11 p.m. Approximately. It's like the top 16, and yeah, you have been there. The scenery is fantastic, and the atmosphere is one of a kind, and it's so difficult to explain to people how good it feels to be there. You know, like when you have been there and you felt the energy of that place, and I think that's like, I'm not a spiritual kind of guy, but that's the only way I can describe how it feels to be there. You can literally feel the energy of the cars because you're so close. It's like you have seen it. The walls that we have there, we bought like FIA grade walls. It's the same then on the Formula One tracks around Europe, and a few of them, not all of them, of course. And you can actually go up to 1 meter close to the track barrier, even when the cars are driving there. So because it's still safe, and I think there is no other place where you can be that close. Maybe Irvindale. I think there's also one corner, right? I've never been there, but that's what I'm seeing in videos.
Yeah, and you're obviously you're sitting up a little bit higher, so you're kind of like looking in. It's very stadium feeling, but because of the track layout, you kind of see, you know, parts of it. You can kind of pick if you really want to see the entry, if you really want to see the final corner, if you want to see all of it. Like depending on where you sit, you get a kind of different experience. Yeah. And then you have these like absolutely massive digging machines. Like they're multiple stories high. They're huge, and the entire, you know, arena is kind of lined with them. So it is a very, very unique venue in that way.
Yeah, definitely. Like Ferropolis itself is now a museum, and it has been a brown coal mine, and that lake that is around, it's all artificial. So that island is artificial, the lake is artificial. They essentially filled the mine with water over many, many years, you know, until it is it got to the point where it is now. And I'm very happy that Marcus, my business partner here, he convinced me to do that end of 2017, because it was not exactly easy to convince the city that is owning that place. Hey, how about we race cars in your museum? You know, that was not the easiest way, but now they're definitely on board.
Yeah, I see. I didn't even realize it had been going on for that long. I was first introduced to it just kind of making friends with, I think it was Simon Olsen who first introduced me to it and kind of talking about going. And then I saw him compete the one year and I was like, oh, that's nuts. And then on my own accord, I think I reached out to you guys. I'm like, listen, if you ever need an announcer, please let me know. Like, I'd love to come over. And then, yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks later, you guys like, yep, here's your flight, welcome over. And that was kind of it. But it's a very unique venue. The culture around it, like the people that are there were very informed, but also the party was really good. Like, I mean, it was a really fun, exciting party, but it wasn't like nobody was destructive. Nobody people weren't like breaking things. Like, it didn't get out of hand. It was a big party, but it was very contained. So that was the part I was like, oh, like, you kind of looking at how big the venue is, you're like, this could get out of hand really quick, especially with the kind of the number of people. But it was cool to see just how respectful everybody was of the venue, of the drivers, of the pits, because everything's open too. Like, all the structures and stuff, like, I don't think you can climb them during that time, but you can walk around them. All the pits are wide open. The beaches, as you said, the music's kind of going all the time. There's a huge food village that's there. Like, you can just go explore. And then, as you said, at nighttime, then that's when, the track kind of heats up and everything changes over to a racing venue.
And I think that exactly what you just said, that exploring, that is something that I always liked that in drifting, because drifting started so small in Europe, and it had such a long journey to develop to where drifting is now. It gave you the chance to actually, you could choose where you want to sit, right? You could just walk around. You could like really inhale the sport, and I always liked that, liked it. And we were saying, okay, we want to give our spectators, and fans, we want to give them the chance to really like be their own master of the weekend. Like, okay, if it's too loud now for me for a while, okay, then I go down the beach, then I grab a cocktail, whatever, watch some cars. We have some car shows also down at the beach, or just go swimming, like, luckily we are very blessed with the weather. In August, it's always week 33. Every year, and we get some rain, for like 2-3 hours, sometimes also heavy, but then it's warm again and it's dry, and we never had to have any finals in the wet, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, the track layout's really cool too. Like, I mean, obviously running that in the wet would be, I think we saw a little bit of it, but it's very unforgiving. It's all walls the whole way through. You cannot mess up even a little bit, or you're totaling cars. We saw a couple big wrecks. A couple guys get, back in and able to get the cars fixed. Like, the actual driving was incredible too. And I mean, I've been talking about it for a long time, since I got home. I was, kind of singing the praises of the event and super excited to come back. So when I saw your post go up, just kind of talking about everything where, to talk about the post in particular, it was a little bit vague in details, which is why we're doing this. You reached out. I was in the comments a little bit, and you're kind of like, hey, can we find a way to explain this a little bit more? And I was like, yeah, let's figure this out. You just got off of kind of a red-eye flight. I think it's what, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning right now. So we're making this happen because there are questions about it and people want clarification, and you're super open to talking about it. So
yes, yeah. We wanted to make one thing clear. That post came out, what is it, Thursday? It's like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not so long ago, and a lot of people thought that's just like, you use big words in those kind of posts, and you describe like that you want to change a lot, and it all sounds like, okay, another one, like, we change everything and we make it so big. And I understand that people are skeptical, and that people think like, okay, that's just marketing English here, and but from the bottom of my heart, in this one, it's not the case. This time we are really implementing big changes, and I would like to introduce a few of them. I will not talk about all of them because some of them are not finalized, with the contractual partners for it, and I don't want to spoil things until they're really ready. But I have still a long list. I think I have like 11 points here. So a quick quick introduction why we feel the need for change. So we had a pretty good year. We had a pretty good event, and it took quite some time in the Central European market to grow that organically. Drifting itself in Europe is not as developed as it is over in the States, and that is something we all struggle with. Not just organizers, also teams, event partners, sponsors. Everyone is involved in that struggle, and drifting is getting bigger and bigger. But we felt it's still. How can I explain? I don't want to be rude, but it's still not at the point where drivers can have an active career. It's
right.
just it's two hands full out of all European drivers that actually have a career in that sport. And we feel that we can do something to improve that for everyone. And that is the target with those changes. We feel we can help with the development of the sport and can help to make it more sustainable for everyone.
Yeah, the thing is the U.S. economy is just so massive, right? The companies, the businesses that are in the United States are so incredibly huge that trying to compare that, I don't know the exact figure, but it's something like California's economy is as big as like half of Europe's. So like when we talk about funding and programs and stuff like that, what you see with like an RTR where they're showing up with multiple transport trucks, that doesn't happen in Europe. There are a couple of teams out there that have large rigs and large setups, but for the most part, it is very much still truck and trailer. There were guys even in the highest levels of drifting in Europe that are showing up in open trailers still. And we still see that in the odd case, here in America, but overall the economy around drifting hasn't gotten as big in Europe at least from my perspective, as it has in the US simply because of funding in general.
Yeah, but that is the and don't take me wrong now, but don't take it wrong. But this is the main excuse everyone is having. It's like
Right.
it is the difference in the size of economy. Okay, and that might be a factor for sure. I'm not doubting that, but we believe it's that no one ever really made it possible for those drivers, and I think that is we believe that is the reason that we're at this point. It's not like that no one tried hard. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. We have seen some massive development with Drift Masters in the last years. You all know that, and they produce such a fantastic show and drivers, but even in that level of championship where it's so tough, there's just really few guys who actually can do that for a living, and can really focus on it. And we believe that there's a few key changes needed to help drivers develop in that direction.
Okay, so you're kind of putting it at like the economy is definitely one part of it, but also the education as to and some of the things that maybe U.S. drivers are doing when it comes to sponsor relations and getting sponsors and working with them, that hasn't been taught or worked through in the European market as much.
Yes, and I think that's exactly how you can put it. I didn't contact you to blame, the European drifting scene now. But
No,
I just want to make sure that it's understood why we feel the need. It's not because we think we will change everything here because we know it better. No, I want to reason why we think we can do something good here. And if those drivers and teams would have gotten the suitable platform, and sometimes that means you have to push them a bit, like gentle, it's more like guiding and to get there, then they will develop in that direction. Because those are competitive people, in nature. So they will try as hard off track as they try on track. But it's how can I say, the basement, needs to be created for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would look at even just the amount of social media that gets put out, the difference between the U.S. drivers and European and Japanese drivers as well. I mean, this isn't just a European thing that I'm looking at. Like I'm looking at global. There's definitely some pockets of drifting culture that hasn't adopted social media and video production and stuff quite as much as what we see in the U.S. market.
Yes, yeah. It's I think luckily I had the chance in the last few months to talk to some guys over from FD to just, for me it was more listening to how are you guys doing that, how are specifics, how is it set up, and one thing that really came through was that there's a lot of situations that are created by the championship to that fans interact with teams interact with sponsors, teams interact with social projects, like I have the feeling everyone wins in that constellation, like it's a constant moving machine of people trying to help promote each other, and I'm not we all know that happy people, create other happy people. And that's a thing. So if you are positive about what you're doing because you enjoy it, you don't have the constant struggle. You know that, hey, I have enough fuel to drive home. It's people might think I overdo it here, but the European drifting scene is. I don't want to use the word financially too often now because it's not just about money, but it's a fact that it's heavily underfunded, and a lot of guys struggle hard. Every time they go to a race, and I think that's not right.
No, that's fair. I mean, especially if we're talking about some of the best drivers in this sport, in the world. And I would still say that there are plenty of drivers that we've never heard of just because they never got the funding. That could have been the greatest, right? There's like an ongoing joke with any racing that the best drivers in the world are at home playing on their sims because that's as far as they got.
Might
right?
be, yes, yeah. Might be.
Yeah. So I guess like where my question is like, what can you explain that you guys are looking to change to help support that?
Okay, so one thing that's very typical for European drifting is that drivers have to overcome a lot of mental pressure. Okay, the practice times are generally quite short. So you have a very few laps time to adjust your car perfectly for that track before you go into qualification, and all of those guys got so good that qualification is really about splitting hairs, right? And and sometimes you're not making it into the show because of 1 or 2 points. And I'm not saying that if you're not good enough, you should be in it. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying competition is happening in the pairs and in the battles. The tandem battles is where it's at. It's not in the qualification. It's a part of it, but in the end, doesn't matter if you're first in qualification. If you lose your first battle, you're out. And that's the end of your weekend. So the competition is definitely not part of, or the competition is not happening in the battles. So, wait, there's more. So what we did is we said, okay, we want to take away the qualification from the track. I will later go into what we're actually doing here. So we eliminated qualification as you know it. Okay, so guys will not use their cars to go on track to qualify. They will. We are going to accept exactly 64 drivers, and those 64 drivers will go into a top 64 version because it's a top 64 double elimination. And so essentially, everyone who is familiar with double elimination knows that you can lose one time and still win the event. So if you lose your first battle, you go lead and you go chase, like traditionally everything the same, and you lose your battle, you will go on the loser bracket side. And if you win every single battle there, you can still win the event at the end. You have to win one more time than the other guy who won all the way through,,, who's in the final with you, but you still have that chance. This has multiple reasons why we do that. Number one is everyone is in the show, okay, from the start, and they know that. That is going to relax them. This is going to make sure drivers are not constantly tense. And European drifting got to a point where not everyone, but most of the drivers, and that is a fact. This is not just my opinion. They're like really searching the last possible, percentage of improvement, and what this does is that the European drivers are not interacting with their fans as good as they could because they're so stressed all the time. And we want to take that away, We want to take that. We want to take this pressure away. Doesn't mean you don't have to battle hard. The focus in this top 64 is definitely performance. Yeah, I'm not saying we make it easier. I'm just saying that the race actually is happening in top 64. And if you arrive to a venue that where okay, I'm already in the show. My sponsors are in the show. That's another important point. I talked to a lot of companies that support bigger teams in Europe, and they said that was such a fantastic point for them because they said, hey, we are in the show already. And we're actually 2 times in the show, even if our driver should lose, because he can go again. And on the other bracket. But we believe that if teams arrive and are a bit more relaxed because they know, okay, let's say I crash my car in practice, or I make a small mistake, and then I would be out. But all this is not happening in our event for next year. So they arrive. They have 7 hours per group. I've been calculating it today, and it's like it translates to approximately 22 laps of possible practice per driver. And that's a lot for drifting right now.
Yeah, that's about double what an FD driver would get, and I'd probably double or more what you would see in Drift Masters as well.
It's like 5 times.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah. It's those guys had to get really good in a really, really short time. And this is exactly what I mean, is that it creates this tension, and and drifting is such a cool sport. It's a lifestyle. It's having a good time, being reckless, but as a professional, like showing your wild side in a way you can never do that anywhere else. And people are actually cheering for you while you do that. So let's take James Dean as an example. James Dean in competition mode, super focused, very clean. Have you seen James driving when he's just there for fun?
Oh yeah, a couple of times.
Huge difference.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
very different.
It's cool that he's able to do that. So James, all the love. So that's
he's throwing back ease. He's trying weird stuff. He's different entries, different angles. He'll tandem against anybody. Yeah, very different than in competition mode where it's like every run looks like it's going to be a perfect run.
Yes, yeah. So I'm not saying that that we want to encourage drivers to just be wild. Of course they have the rules. They have a judging system. They have a specific lead line. They have regulations for chasing. Same like we have in general in drifting. So we are not taking this away. What you see on track is the same stuff, but we believe that this change will help drivers to interact more with their surrounding, with the surrounding people at the venue and also online, and that will help them. That will help the fans. That will help their partners and sponsors, because we know that the algorithm is structured like this in social media that if you have a lot of interactions, it will bump it up. So, and we hope that this change is beneficial for it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good extension of that thought. I do like the idea of taking some of the pressure off the drivers, especially, just giving them some sort of breather to be like, okay, I know if I make one mistake, it's not that big of a deal. I can get redemption. And seeing other series that have implemented similar structures, like that loser bracket sometimes is the better bracket. Because you'll get 1 or 2 guys in there that are top tier that could win, that are top 3 drivers in the world that just made a small mistake. And then you get to watch them fight their way back up to win it all. So I've always liked that double elimination bracket. I've always been a fan of that. So personally, I'm a fan for sure. I guess that leaves open the question though of like the actual qualifying. Is it just random numbers or?
No, because we feel that would be wrong, right?
Okay.
I will not go into the deepest detail when it comes to that, but I will
Okay.
give you an idea of what we imagine this will look like. And again, before I start, the reason here is to help drivers interact with their fans directly. That's the whole purpose. So what we are going to do, we are going to have a voting system. It's going to be with an app. Yeah. People that are at the venue will be able to use the app or do it physically. But people that didn't make it to the venue, they will go and do it with the app. And drivers will have almost 5 months' time to figure out a way how they are going to activate their fans for that day when we are opening the vote. You know, it's happening after like the first 70% of the practice day. We're going to open the vote, and then hopefully everything they came up with, all the crazy ideas how to activate their fans to get them as many votes as possible will pay off. But so because our drivers will be decided in the next 6 weeks, all 64.
Okay.
Then we know who's going to start, and then we have a lot of time to work with them, and we intend to work with them, explain precisely, you know, how we think this is going to go, and encourage them to interact with their fans, to activate their fans, you know. And I talked to a few drivers about it because I wanted to hear what they think, and they on the phone instantly had ideas. You know, and I can tell you, I think we will see a lot of cool stuff, because every team has that one crazy guy, and I don't know what they're going to do to get their fans to vote, but I think we are in for an absolute festival of videos and crazy pictures. Lots of good emotions, you know, lots of smiling faces, and that is what I learned from talking to the FD guys. This is exactly what I took away from it, and I'm super grateful that I had the chance to talk to some of the drivers over there, and understand that, okay, so that's how this works, right? In the end, we just need to create situations where teams and drivers interact more, you know, actively, proactively create that, you know, and we are pushing a little bit, you know, but in a very gentle and friendly way. We do this really that they have a better time, and that if their channels are growing, this will of course help with their program, one way or the other. You know, it will never be easy. It will always be super hard work to make it amongst the best, to be full professionals. I mean, like, doing this for a living. This is not for everyone, and we all know that, you know, but. We want to help the teams getting there. You know, we will not succeed with everyone, and that is, you know, that's not what we are going to say. But we think we have to start that movement. And that's why we do that.
Yeah, you're just providing the place and the infrastructure and the ability to do that. Similar to, you know, the kind of the halftime break that you see at FD, for example, where you see a lot of situations where drivers are at sponsor booths, or they're doing giveaways, or there's, you know, obviously there's the autograph signing, but there's so much more that happens outside of that, where they're doing things at their booths, at their rigs, to increase fan engagement. There's games going on. There's a lot going on, and yeah, I think anything you guys can do to help foster that engagement makes fans more trying to think, like, more attached to those drivers, right? Something I talked about in the podcast, like the beginning of the year when we were talking about pro spec, which doesn't get as much love as pro, because I mean it's a series down. Is just like, pick a driver and follow that driver for the year. Like, just pick a random one and just follow that driver for the year, right? Like even if you have no idea. And like people were messaging me saying like, oh, I just, this name sounded cool, right? Like I kind of like the things you said about this person, so I followed them for the season. And even if they don't do well, you have somebody to cheer for. I mean, I'm somebody who cheers for a professional hockey team that is notoriously bad. So, but for me, like I've cheered for them my whole life. So why wouldn't I continue to cheer for them, right? You get attached.
I think it's not seeing this from a fan perspective. It has nothing to do with performance. It's what does this person make you feel,
Right?
Like, and why is it? Why do you like to see the pictures? Why do you want to see the stories? Because something attracts you to that, and it might be the haircut. It might be the tone of the voice. It might be just the craziness, or because the driver is extremely calm. So there's always, we are just humans, and something is going to attract us. And performance is not everything, and that is why I have to repeat myself so often. I'm sorry for that, but I think a lot of people outside of Europe are not aware of how competitive, how success-driven European drifting is, and in our opinion, forgot everything around it. It was all about, in the shortest amount of time, producing the cleanest, best, and highest possible result. Yeah, but unfortunately, this doesn't pay the fuel to get you there. So just to say one example, there's so many things that we believe needs to be addressed, and needs to be touched and at least tried. Okay, we cannot guarantee that what we are doing for the next year Iron Drift King is going to change the sport. Right. There's no guarantee, but we claim that we're going to change the sport because we believe so deeply and wholeheartedly in that, that we will give absolutely everything. And that's why I sit here Sunday night, 2:00, in a hotel and talk to you, because I really want everyone to understand that this is no joke for us. We are trying our absolute best to create a better future for those teams out there.
No, that's fair. I mean, obviously, you're the one who approached me about this. Like, hey, what can we do to try and get this message out? I mean, I know you were in the comment section of the posts and getting back to people and being like, hey, trying to explain things further. So yeah, I believe it. I mean, you've got a lot of time invested in this. Like, this is, there's nobody who throws an event like that purely out of, you have to have passion and love for an event like that. Yeah. Because like, as much as people think like, oh, it'd be great, you can make all this money. It's like, no, most of these events lose money for years if they ever make money. Like, it's just for the love of doing it, right? Like, if events like that made as much money as some people thought, you would have events everywhere. But they don't. Most of them just break even if everything works out well. Yes. So no, I 100% back you on that like, this is, you want to see drifting succeed. You want to see it do better. You want to see the drivers do better. You want to see more fans engaged with it. And this is a way of, fans getting some skin in the game, that like their support will be able to provide a difference in the driver. I personally would love to see like other benefits come with that as well. Like if we're throwing ideas out there, like if a driver gets more votes, maybe they get more track time or something, they get extra laps or something, or there's some sort of benefit. Because the only argument I'd have with you is like, okay, cool, I get more votes, it just changes who I drive against. It's no different than a random thing. But if the more votes maybe got them more track time, or they line up for practice in that order, something. I mean, it's not final, but something that provides a benefit to their weekend.
That is great. Believe me, we have thought about a lot of those things, and here comes the challenge. We live in a world where people are very fast to judge, So if we would say, for the love of sport, we would say, if you are so good in activating your fans, we reward you for that, right? Not just with a higher qualification position, but with something extra. Let's say 2 more laps practice, okay? Just as an example.
Right.
it takes exactly 5 seconds until you have the first comment under what we just talk here, saying, yeah, but some of them have so many fans that it's unfair for the others. This is where, I don't believe in that, because everyone got to a point through some certain steps in their life, right? It's not,
That's fair.
no one woke up and just had that. No, they all have worked for it. So I think there should always be a reward for people that worked hard to get to a certain point. But I think we're not there yet. We're not there. There's a lot of changes that we want to implement, and we don't want to make it too crazy that everyone goes completely nuts. Because we are not doing this to market the event. We do this to help the sport. To help the sport be there many years from now still, and hopefully be a sport where a young child can be at the track and say, hey, I would like to do that, when I'm old, and I would like this to be my career, like Monster Truck, like in the US. Like I've just recently watched Monster Truck with my daughter, and I haven't once watched Monster Truck 10 years, and I'm seeing like, okay, Bigfoot 1, Bigfoot 2, Bigfoot Senior, and then like, it's the whole family is doing that, and I was like, okay, so yeah, because it's possible, and I would love that kind of chance for drifting at some point. So I think we have to try different things in order to see what works best, But we definitely don't want to create any unfair situations, because the sport is still a motorsport, and it's still something that should be fought on track.
Okay, no, that's fair. I completely get that. Is there any? I think there was some talk about like changes to potentially like car regulations, or is there anything within that? I know tires in general in Europe is such a massive topic right now in drifting. Is there anything you can talk to about that?
Yes, I definitely can. So there was one very easy decision that didn't need any brainstorming, and that was, okay, we definitely limit tire size to 265.
Okay.
That size, I think, has provided for 95% of European drifting the best years of their career. Like when it comes to, I could afford it, they were still very reliable for most of the people. That was the first time driving a semi-slick, in general. And it was the first time being able to actually control your car, not just hoping it will slide, hopefully not into the wall, just, slightly stop before that. No, you were actually able to control your car precisely first time. And that's a size that is perfectly fast. It is perfectly, it makes enough smoke. But it will not go. It's not going to wreck your car. Like it's not going to give you constantly drivetrain damages, rip the rear axle out of your chassis, all that kind of stuff. So we keep it at 265, and that was a very easy decision. The major change is that we wanted to be. And that is another FD thing. So I have to say, I am very grateful for the inspiration, that gave me. Like I couldn't even write down so fast how many ideas I had in that talk, because like it's not like that someone said, okay, try A, B, C, D. No, it was just talked, their everyday life in that sport in the US.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we could maybe try this and here and so what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that the teams have to pay just the tires they use in practice. Every tire that is used in a competition, in the battles, will be provided. So they don't have to pay for them. Yes. Because in comparison with the US market and FD, drivers here have to pay for their tires. Because there is no company willing to actually provide them with free tires. Free, nothing is free. They provide the marketing exchange, and provide a marketing service here. It's not like that you get something for free. No one gets anything for free. But what I'm saying is that there's everyone out there, please don't nail me down. I think we have maximum 5 drivers in all Europe. and we have thousands of active drivers, maximum 5, that don't pay their tires because they can repay their partners with exposure and marketing activities and then.
Right. Whereas same thing in the US, I know multiple drivers who don't even compete that are just party drivers. They just go out to festivals and all they do is drive festivals that are fully backed by tire companies. And then, I don't want to blow up anybody's spot, but like at FD, there are drivers who are being paid to run a tire. I mean, I think Falcon's a great example of that, right? Like you looked at the Falcon program, there's a lot of, maybe there wasn't a check being presented. Maybe there was, I don't know. I'm not here to say, but you've got a rig, you've got a livery, you've got suits, all that stuff that's being provided or subsidized. There's some good tire money there. So I guess the question then is like, maybe I'm like getting into too much detail, but like, how does the logistics of that work? Is it going to be limited to one brand? Are you just going to reimburse them and be like, you bring your dead ones and we'll bring you some new ones? Or I'm just curious how that works.
Okay, so to give you a little bit background. So after hearing how it's done in the US and how drivers are supported, because Formula Drift has that, and that is just hearsay. Okay, I have never seen a contract, and I know. Right. I just want to make sure that is understood. But even if this was a pure lie, it helped me have this idea. So what I was told is that FD, if they get a new tire supplier, like a partner, official tire of FD. They don't just have to partner up with the series. No, FD is making it a requirement that they fully support 3 to 5 teams or 3 to 5 drivers. Mm-hmm. And that was like, why we don't do this? Right. Why we don't do this? So how about us as an event? We are trying to find partners, sponsors for the event, and then make it their task as well. Okay, we provide you exposure, and we have an even better idea with even more exposure, but you have to also provide the teams with something. Right. And that is what I'm saying. That might sound so hilarious to US drivers, as you just said, some guys don't even compete and get their tires for free. And it's a very small step, but maybe for the international drivers, but in Europe, that is a big thing. If you don't pay those tires that you use during your battles, you don't transport. Yeah. You don't transport them. Transportation sounds like, and what's the problem? Yeah, those tires weigh hundreds of kilos, 500-600 kilos, even more when you have to transport them. They take away space that you could fill with another tent, with merchandise, another interaction with your fans. Those vans and trucks are constantly overloaded, so teams risk big fines, when they travel through Europe. Yeah. And there are thousands of kilometers journeys just to go to an event, and we want to take that away. There are still events in Europe where you have to pay that someone is mounting your tires, to your wheels. It's like, no, those guys come here and have their hundreds of thousands of US cars, and risk them completely to give everyone the best possible show. And then you ask money from them that they get their tires changed, Like this is something that is absolutely ridiculous. And we want to set an example of how we believe this is going. But you asked me a question, how are the specifics or a little bit more details. So what we did before we came up with that final idea, we wanted to make sure it's fair. We had a lot of talk in Europe about some tires being so strong, so grippy, that you need to buy the same tire, otherwise you cannot compete. Right. That is where it ended up. There's a few guys like Max Heydrich, one of the Drift Masters drivers. He's actually the only German who competes in that championship. He was using Westlake, and he made it work. He found a way magically on his S chassis to make that car fast on a tire that is so much under the top tires like Valino, when it comes to performance. But it's a huge struggle. And we wanted to take that out. So we did. We talked to a lot of drivers that have a lot of experience over the last decade. And we didn't tell them why we asked it, but what we asked, if you could name tires that are similar in performance, like tread wear, grip, predictability, those kind of things. Which tires would that be? And I'm not going to name the brands now. Okay.
Okay.
That's a contract
I have
thing.
some guesses.
Yeah. But
I think a few people do.
I'm not going to
But
do that now because it would be wrong. Yeah. At this point,
Right.
It will soon enough. It will be public knowledge. But
yeah.
so, and do you know what? Every single driver, and that was very much to my surprise, answered the exact same tire brands. And they didn't even know why they answered that. I just used my contacts. Friends of mine used their contacts to just contact a lot of drivers and ask the same question, and they all answered the same thing. So we're saying, okay, then we cannot go really wrong, right? So we talked to those brands, and we are going to get them on board, to support drivers, and this is where I soon end with specifics, okay? Those drivers have to essentially apply to be chosen. But every single competitor will get that support.
Right.
But which of those brands? That depends a lot on your imagination and a lot on how good are you to make them aware that you're actually existing. But we wanted to make sure that no one has a disadvantage. That was super important. So in the end, it will not make a huge difference, maybe 3 to 5%, if you have this tire or that tire, But you can win on all of those 3 tires. You can definitely win the event on any of those tires. That was very important for us.
Yeah, it'll be almost like a draft for those tires, right? Where like they'll pick their teams, and then that. Because like the tire wars, I mean, in Europe and in US and anywhere really is like a big thing. And then like the tire cup, like the team that gets the most points in the US is also a big deal. So it'll be interesting to have that as kind of its own battle of like what tire brand. And that also gets the tire brands involved, where now they want to start developing, hopefully, more tires, better tires, bigger tires, whatever, or just better drifting tires. And that way, I'm like looking ahead of this already, like 3-4 years down the road, this tire battle becomes a big thing where like, hopefully they come to Iron Drift King and they go, okay, these are the 3 brands. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm on the same path you are. We want them fighting to make the tires that are going to compete in this and draft the best drivers, and same thing, put skin in the game.
Yes, exactly. And it was all about the support. It was about the first real support, that drivers are getting. And I got some, not negative feedback. No, I got some criticism about, okay, but what is with drivers that are sponsored? Do you know how many drivers we have that are sponsored? None? Like really, there's like 5, and I mean that there's like everyone else just gets a discount, and that is it. So we don't have that, Like we had one of the US guys saying that, but if I would come over, I wouldn't be able to compete because I have a contract with that brand, and that is painful for me to hear because I would like that driver over, for the love of drifting, but. We do this now to develop the European market, okay?
Right.
But if you hear that, if your tire is comparable to the other tires, we can test that, then we can make that happen. But I want that it's fair. I want to make sure those guys enter this event and they know, okay, we are treated here as fair as we possibly can be treated, because it's not about your material, it's about how good you are dealing with that material. And not to constantly promote James here, but that guy made it happen on a tire that was so much worse than all the other tires for such a long time, so it's not about your material, definitely not. He just figured out a way how to drive to make it happen, but we want to make sure that everyone is on a very similar material, because we think that is very interesting to see in the end. And ideally, just from the competition point of view, just to say to go through the thought process, ideally I would like everyone on the same tire because I think that would be freaking cool.
Yeah.
Problem with that solution is that we are creating a monopole, and we cannot control the future of that company. We cannot control the next steps of that company. Okay, so if we create a monopole, and then that company makes a hard turn, it hurts a lot of people, and that is why we don't want to do that. Yeah.
Well, and this still breeds some competition within those companies, right?
Yes.
Like it'll allow the drivers to, and it opens up a lot of new relationships for those drivers too, right? They might be working with the tire company in this event that they've never worked with before, and something could click. They have an opportunity to, under promise, over deliver, do everything they can, provide a ton of content and marketing material to then hopefully land that. And it also potentially gets these companies more involved in drifting. Not that they aren't now. I have some guesses who those companies might be, but it now gets them to kind of be like, oh, we've now get to see 15, 20, 30 drivers or whatever that we haven't worked with before. And they actually are doing some really cool stuff. Let's see what else we can do with them or see how else we can help their career.
I think how you summarized it is exactly what we are intending. It's another one of those gentle pushes.
Right. You're not forcing it, but you're
No.
Yeah.
I mean, in this kind of thing, drivers that apply for next year, they are at this moment, they are going to be aware of every single detail before they apply. Mm-hmm. So we are not like, hey, just apply in the dark and then we turn everything around that you have done the last years here. No, that's not going to happen. They will be 100% aware of what they're applying for. And if they choose to do so, they are also accepting that. And we enjoy big trust amongst teams, and that is great. I'm very thankful for that. So we really want to deliver here. But this is another one of those examples where we try to create that inner spark, in a team and in a driver to like, I want to do something. Okay, now I got the chance very early on before the event, because that process when they get chosen is happening approximately end of February, beginning of March next year. So 6 to 8 weeks after they got their entry for the event, they're going to know which tire they're going to compete in. And then they have all this time, because the event is in August, right? They have all this time to do more with that. Don't just think, okay, it's just this one event. No, you have the active contact to that company. That company chose you because you worked for it. Do something with it. Use that chance, And if it didn't work out, you learned something. That's right. So it's all the way. It's a positive thing.
Are you able to get into any other changes? Mm-hmm. I feel like you and I could get stuck on a bunch of subjects, but I'd love to know what else.
I'm sorry for that.
No. It's tires, but tires are so critical in drifting. Yeah. It is like, no matter what's going on in drifting, that is like a conversation that's constantly happening, and it's happened, I would say, the last 15 years especially. Like last 5 has been really heavy in it, but really since tires have been making a big difference in drifting, it's such a hot topic. So I'm glad that we spent some time on that.
Yeah, so we both knew this is not going to be a short talk here. I talk a lot. But sometimes too much. But I think after all those years drifting in Europe, that didn't get to the point where we all would like to have it. I think we all should spend maybe 10 more minutes listening to that and trying to understand why we're going that way. Yeah, and that's why I have to talk a bit more. I'm sorry.
That's all good.
Another change that we are going to do for our event is the judging. So the judging itself, we're not going to change. It will be judges, right? They're going to make their educated decisions. What we're going to do, we change the amount of judges. So typically you have 3 judges. We are going to go with 5. And the reason for that is simply, we believe we're going to get a cleaner result. Nothing else.
Right.
Yeah. Like if 5 guys, and those 5 judges will be from 5 different places in the world, They have no connection, they're not constantly working with each other. They are all from different fields, different generations of drifting, and have done that such a long time. And they all have interest in developing the sport, interest in learning more, interest in helping the sport with their education, because a judged sport will always be open for controversial decisions. It will always be open for that people feel that there was a biased decision, and we felt 2 judges extra is going to help that a lot, because if 5 judges believe you failed, you obviously failed, okay, and we're going to make sure that those judges will make their decisions individually. So like we try to create a visually a border between them. So it's like it's your decision with your knowledge, with your experience in that sport. Yeah, and it's not supposed to be a team decision. It's like not trying to convince each other of the decision that you're making, because it should be based on knowledge and rules that you gave, and the briefings you had and the meetings before, and I'm not trying to get too deep into judging topic. I just want to, and I'm not hating on what is happening. I'm just saying that I think we can provide fans and drivers with a little bit better decision quality, because of it's more people making that decision.
It's interesting. This feels very much like you guys have been reading comments of both Drift Masters and Formula Drift, and what are people complaining about? What are the solutions that they've provided? And that 5 judges thing is something that has come up time and time and time again. It's come up on my show. It's come up in my conversations with people. It has come up in my conversations with just people in the industry. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out, because this is one of those things that, like, the armchair quarterbacks and I'm one of the biggest ones, have been talking about, but I don't know when it has been tried. Maybe it's been tried in some smaller series.
As far as I know, yes, it has been tried. As far as I know, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen it happen in a very large series yet. So especially when we're looking at doing that with a top 64, where we're going to see a lot of judging decisions, we're going to know really quick after this event if this is a viable solution for other series.
Yes.
And that, I love that you guys are taking that risk, because it is a bit of a risk, because this may go really weird in ways that we can't comprehend yet, but I think it's worth a shot, and why not, right?
Yes. No. I was just like...
Sorry, I'm not trying to scare you, but like...
No. We are very well aware that a lot of those things have not been done in that scale, It's not...
Right.
We didn't reinvent the wheel. We just tried to improve it. And we are aware that some of those things may not work. But as I said earlier, we are working day and night to make sure we have been flipping that coin as often as we could to see if there's a possible flaw. Yeah, it's very important, because to have an idea and say in a group, hey, that sounds great. That's the easy part. But like after talking to 10 people that had questioned, you're like, okay, I didn't think about that. So yes, we really no, we are going with that system. We are very convinced that this will provide a fantastic result, and it will provide fans, especially fans at home, with the feeling that okay, that was the decision is final. I may think differently, but if so many judges say, hey, this is how it was, then it definitely was the decision. That's what we are hoping for. That's what we are aiming for. There will always be someone having a different opinion, and that is perfectly fine. It's a judged sport. Yeah.
Right.
That's why we ask so much from those drivers, because judges have to make a decision. So please drive as crazy as you can. So that decision is going to be an easier one.
Nice. That's all the other changes you've explained. I'm like, okay, cool. But that one so far probably has me the most excited, because it's something I've thought about a lot, and just always question like, okay, during this situation, what would have happened if we had 5 judges? Like, would it be a different scenario? Would we get less one more times? Would we get more one more times? What happens? So,
Yeah, we will see. We will see. But
Yeah, we will.
I can tell you what we're going to do is we're not going to wait until August and then, hey guys, sit together and figure that out. No, we are going to make sure the judges are educating each other, really making sure they know what they're talking. We're going to have practice events, not in real life, but on the simulator, to see how that works, and how I'm going way too much in detail that I didn't want to, but it's I think it's important that people know. So we want to make sure this really, really works. Okay, I'm not going to say more exactly how we're going to do that, but we will not just hope it's okay. We will educate each other, drivers, judges, and also us as organization to make sure this will be the best outcome that we could hope for.
All right. I know the other part that was mentioned as well is that potentially a track layout change, which I've kind of been scratching my head at because I'm like, okay, it seems like this is fairly structured. The only thing I could think of would maybe be more of a run up, but then I'm also like, these guys are going pretty fast at that first turn. So are you able to get into that at all, or is that more of a surprise for the event?
I can get into it a bit. So the layout as we had it since 2018 has been a good one. I think it has been a good one. It has been a very exciting layout, but it also has been criticized sometimes for being too easy. What I honestly could never understand, because just because drivers are able to do it good doesn't mean it's too easy, because in the end battles decide, and the battles have never been easy here. It was just, we had crazy high qualification results, and where like 25 drivers had 90 points, okay, that's ridiculous. But one big issue with the layout we had, and I am a bit angry to myself that I haven't seen that earlier. It had to be shown by one of our newest team members. He's like, you know him, I'm not going to say now who, but for me, he's like a wizard of drifting, like a wizard of drifting physics. Okay, I learned so much from him in that short time.
You got the same demonstration I got then. This mystery figure at some point, I would very much love to do a full, and it's going to be like a 3-hour episode.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
But he is somebody I've never heard of before until this year. And the things that he has shown me and taught me in a very short period of time, I went, as similar to you, I was upset that I'm like, why did I not look at how this operates? So, but anyways, that's a whole cliffhanger. We'll let people know when that episode comes out.
But he has shown me a lot, and in the first time I have seen like, okay, the run up that we had. So from the starting light, to the initiation line, if you made a single mistake, a bit the clutch too early, or too fast, a bit too much throttle, you got a little bit wheel spin, and that immediately has been pushing you so far back behind the lead car that it was very unnatural way to push against towards to gain proximity, and so we have changed the run up. I almost said something that I don't want to say now. We have it's faster, I can tell you that. It's actually 25 kilometers per hour faster entry speed. It is way faster. It will be more dynamic. For fans, that will be for drivers it will be like OMG, because that will feel, I think the first few laps will feel absolutely nuts, but for fans standing behind those walls, man, even in the simulation you get goosebumps because of how crazy that looks when the car's coming towards you. And but the initial thought was not saying, okay, let's make it faster, let's make it look more dangerous or something. No, the initial thought was again here to do something good for the sport, and with the new knowledge that I learned, to say, okay, how can we make that better judgeable? That was the thought, right? Like, how
Okay.
can we make sure judging decisions are actually going to be more relatable for everyone and understandable? Yeah, I don't want to tell. I think it's
Okay.
his time to explain why and how, and everything that he also taught you. Like,
Yeah.
it's I know it's again cryptic. I'm sorry for that. But let you be let it be sure. I want to make sure that you guys understand. We did that to make sure the judging decisions are going to be better, and that it
Right.
accidentally is also more fantastic. Great. So it will be way more. The track will flow more. There will be less corrections. It will be really good. It will be really good.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I same thing. I've got like ideas and thoughts based on all that. And yeah, for anybody listening at home, at some point in time, this mystery cryptic figure, I will have in some form of interview. Yeah, that's all I want to say because I don't want to give too much away. This will start enough speculation on its own. So, cool. I mean that definitely covers a lot of racing. I know you've got a list of what else. What else do you want to hit on?
No, but I think there's one more thing. I was taught to, don't make it about money. No, I'm not going to make it about money. But for us, because now we're going to talk about prize money. Prize money was always a tool to show respect to the performance of those teams. Okay, we know the struggle because we have done this for 8 years ourselves. On the European level, early years of Drift Masters, I have been driving until 2017 was my last season, and I understand how difficult it is to compete, how difficult it is to be good at it. It's such a sport where you have just such a small time to show that you're good enough, and it's a sport where you cannot really correct mistakes. That is the nature of that sport, and so I want to make sure that we are going to reward the teams and show them our appreciation, and we always did that. We had for European level, we had really high prize money, and now we have been going way up. So we are going to have 50,000 euros prize money, 50,000 euros, and it's not going to be divided just by the first 3 spots. No. So what we're going to do is the first 4 spots, they're going to get the majority of it, right? And from 5th to 16th position, everyone will get the same share. Because that can be influenced by the qualification voting system, And, and we wanted to take out that. I hope everyone understands that everything we do, we think like, is this fair for the drivers? Does this feel good for the drivers? That is our intention behind all of those decisions. And this is again one of those where we said, okay, from 5th to 16th position, your position is basically determined, by the qualification order. So, I mean, like, if you go to top 8, of course, you cannot be 9th. But I mean, like, like from 5th to 8th place, it depends how high you qualified. And that's, and we didn't want to reward that financially in a different way. Because then we could have maybe, again, some drivers, also fans say, yeah, but he has more fans. Naturally, he won more, and that we wanted to take out. So we want to make that very fair. But everyone who is making it into top 16 definitely wins some money. And and in Europe, that is again one of the. I feel like I talk about a continent that is really underdeveloped here. It's like sounds so weird. Yeah, we didn't have electricity for so long. No, but like we, like even prize money is still a thing that's. It's the smallest piece of the puzzle. But a lot of organizations don't provide that, or not in a good amount that makes sense, and that's what we definitely want to do differently. And if you are going to be on the podium here, you will have recovered definitely the costs of that event, and for the first 2 guys for the next few events. So it will be high price money, and but that is just our way of saying. we respect the hell out of your performance, and we know you struggle, and that's our thank you for the fantastic show you gave us here for that weekend.
I like that. I do like that you're going that far down to with paying out something, right? Just if nothing else, it's just like a, hey, here's a little bit extra, take your team out to dinner, like, or it's, more drinks or whatever. Yeah. It's something to
There will be lots of
give
drinks,
you the ability to
it's
celebrate.
It's not so little money. So,
yeah. and being there before, there is definitely a lot of drinking. So after. Yes. I'm not a big drinker, but my cohort in the announcing booth definitely was prodding me. And I mean, I had a few. I definitely had a good time while I was there. So, cool. I do like that breakdown. I like that. It's the equality there, because, as you said, because of the qualification thing, it really seems, and this alludes to something you said several times, that every decision you've made, you've had somebody say to you, yeah, but what if? Mm-hmm. And then you went, okay, cool. Well, let's see if we can counter that. And I think too, it's important for anybody listening to know that, like, that it's not perfect. Like, none of any of this could be perfect. If there was a way to throw a perfect event or have perfect drifting, one, no one would ever comment on anything. Yeah. We would never have discussions about it. And two, that's how every event would run. But it seems like you're at least putting your neck out there to be like, okay, we're going to try some stuff that people aren't doing. Yeah. We're going to do stuff that we've taken from other event series or other locations. We're going to try it here and see what happens. And maybe, and you said as well, we're not 100% sure, but we need to try because no one else is trying.
We are 100% sure that it is worth a shot, and that it's worth trying to do something good for those guys, and everyone involved, because that will benefit sponsorships and their partners. It will benefit the fans because they will have so much more time with their favorite drivers. I can guarantee that the schedule is structured in a way that you have a few competition hours, and then you have time again. You will have Q&As. You can book private meetings with those teams. You can just hang out in the paddock, and interact there. We will have track walks. Doesn't sound special, right? But in Europe, no one does that. Yeah, we're the only ones who offer that. And those track walks will be done by the drivers. And just the drivers who want to. Yeah, I always have to say that. No one is forced here. We are not like making any big corporate decisions and you have to just do that. No. That is always in agreement with the drivers who want to do that. But we believe that those track walks are a great chance to give fans who want to book that the chance to hear a fraction of the emotion you're going through when you drive that track. And I think seeing it walking with your own feet over that racetrack is always something very special. And this gives the drivers another time the chance to interact. And we are going to share the income of those track walks with those drivers. Okay.
So it's And I think too, it gives drivers a really good opportunity to speak to a sponsor. Like this is free advice from somebody who works in marketing with automotive brands. Like if you're a driver that you're going to this event and you're thinking about this, talk to a brand and say, hey, we're going to be doing this track walk. Would you like to be the sponsor of my track walk? I need hats. I need shirts. Like send us boxes of those and we'll make sure everybody on the track walk is wearing your gear during the track walk. And then all the media we collect will have all your gear. Like these are those opportunities
I love that.
We're trying to educate. Well, and even on my end, like I very much like to ask drivers, especially very successful drivers, like maybe not successful on track, but successful in business. Like, what are some things that you're doing that maybe people aren't talking about? And and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but it bugs the hell out of me that we try to keep a lot of this stuff a secret because it doesn't benefit anybody. Yes. The more sponsors that are happy with drifting, the more sponsors that will be in drifting. So the more we can educate drivers, especially younger, how to operate a program successfully when it comes to the business side, they all know how to drive. They all know how to race. Mm-hmm. there's nothing I'm going to tell a driver that's going to make them a better driver. But I would, trust me, I'm not a great driver. I've made that very clear. But I always want to share with drivers, here are some things you can do to be better at business, because at the end of the day, the driving is only 10%. It's all the business surrounding it that's going to make you successful. James Dean being our example, he is a very, very good businessman. He knows how to work with sponsors. He knows what sponsors want. He communicates with them regularly. He's, not only is he arguably one of the greatest drivers of all time, if not the greatest driver of all time, he's also one of the best business people in drifting. Look at what he's doing. Rant over.
Do you feel that, Jacob? Do you feel that energy this is creating? And this is
it gives me ideas.
Every single one I'm talking about that. We are ending up there. It takes some time to listen, and I know it's a lot, but this is what we hope to create, okay? Positivity, new ideas. Let's push that forward. And it is so, so, so important that everyone who believes this is right what we are doing here, please support it, okay? Come to the event, share it. I don't know how you support, but please do it, because it needs to move on, also economically, so we can continue to push, continue to reinvest, and continue to do our absolute best to give that sport, another chance. I'm not saying it's dead. I'm just saying that it's an additional chance, an additional way of doing that. And I hope that gave people a good idea of why we do this. And what's the plan? And that I can tell you, there's a lot more that seem to be details, but there will be a lot of interaction created in general, way more than what it's right now, way more platform or not platform. How can we we create a stage, for drivers to stand on. Not like literally, I mean metaphorically, a stage where they can stand on, promote themselves, talk about something they like, talk to their fans, whatever. But we are going to create a lot of those moments, and I think if we all getting that excited, like you just also got, because it's like, why not this and why not that? Yeah, why not? Why not doing cool things here, having a really, really good time? Doesn't take away at all from the seriousness. Those guys will fight super hard because they will battle train from moment one. Everyone does 22, 24 laps, before the actual top 64 starts. And I can guarantee that last top 16, because it will contain the top 8 winner bracket and top 8 loser bracket. That will be nuts. And from top 16 on, like the final top 16, Saturday night, because we start Friday with top 64, and then Saturday night there will be the final top 16. This will not be double elimination anymore, okay? Because that would hurt the show, that would hurt the
it get complicated really quick.
Yes, yeah, and that's why we don't want to do that. So the final 2 hours you're going to watch, that will be, I guarantee it will be absolutely crazy. Because it's not just what they are providing. It's like we also came up with some new ideas to make that visually a huge spectacle. So man, I'm so excited. We have worked so hard. We started 10 days after Iron Drift King happened in August. 10 days after we started working, and I have personally never worked as hard for any of the previous years as I'm now. That may sound bad, but now I'm going nuts right now. It's really, but I feel so alive. I feel the chance to do something great, and I really hope everyone is agreeing with us, or most of the people, and we have the time of our life next year, August.
I'm excited. I mean, I think for anybody listening or watching at home, there's some easy stuff to do. Go follow, Iron Drift King on socials. Go check out the website. I don't know if you guys have set up a newsletter, but go sign up for whatever you can. Just follow along, because I know what you and I have discussed is really just what you're able to discuss now. Maybe we do another one of these in a couple of months when there's more to talk about. I know, like I said, I've had some discussions with people, and I know there's even more being planned that just require some final signatures. But I think this gives a lot of people some thought-provoking substance. Like, just this is what's happening now. This is what we can talk about now. It's only going to get more different. It is only going to get better from here. And at the end of the day, it seems like the entire focus is on how do we make a better show? How do we present the drivers better? How do we allow fans to have access like they're not used to? How do we just make sure that this event is driver focused? And I mean, really, it's fan focused, because if those drivers are in a spot that they don't have to worry financially, they don't, they get in a ton of seat time, that's only going to make the fan experience better.
Ta-da. Right.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. That is what we believe is that's the key in our opinion. And hey, I really hope that works out. And but so far, I have not talked to a single person that gave me the chance to explain that properly. And that said that I don't think it's good. And I ask people, please be as negative as you have to be. So, so I get constructive feedback, and we can improve a thought if it's not good enough, And so far, I haven't got anything negative, So and that is
well, maybe this
great.
will. I mean, I want to encourage people, respectfully. If you have ideas, if you have thoughts, like if you want to be heard, do it respectfully. Don't start being an idiot online. Like, no one's going to listen to you that way. You're not going to change anything that way. If you truly are passionate about drifting, if you want to see it improve, if you want it to be better, if you have thoughts and ideas that you think could absolutely change the way drifting is, communicate it in a way that people are willing to accept. Don't be a dick. Like, that's it. Like, if you want people to listen to you, you have to do it in a way that people want to listen to it. The moment you start swearing and making fun of people and saying dumb stuff, everyone stops listening. So if you want to help the sport, you have to do it in a proper manner.
Yes.
I mean, just, and that's way beyond drifting. If you just want to help people, if you want to improve something, do it in a respectful way. But anyways, cool.
Yeah,
well, I'm really happy we got to do this, man.
Me too. I'm super grateful that you found time, and that was great, and I really hope that everyone who had those questions. So, what are the big changes? I hope it's big enough for you guys. It feels. I feel really good about that, and we feel really good about it, and we are all extremely motivated to make that happen. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and see you at the event, right? And if you
either.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, see you in person or see online.
Ideally, I would like to see everyone, in person. I will hopefully we will see you, Jacob.
Should be. I think I got it on my calendar already.
Good.
So
So that's great. But if you guys have any feedback out there, if you wanna just contact me, go to the page, check the service email address. I will read them as well. Contact me wherever you want to contact me. But if you have something to say, let's talk. I'm ready to make time for everyone who's willing to put in some work here to get to a good result together. Yeah.
Well, thank you again for this. Thank you again for my invite this year and last year and everything else. In whatever capacity I'm there, I'm excited, and I think everybody sitting and listening and watching at home should be excited too. And if nothing else, if you're not excited, then keep following and see what happens next.
Exactly.
It's the best that we can say. All right. I'm glad we got to do this, and hopefully you get some sleep. I think we're going to be classing
it's super late.
Yeah. It's super late, but safe travels, man, and it's great chatting with you.
Thank you very much, Jacob, and talk to you soon.